and welcome to our Thursday Live. I have the biggest, best supporter next to me. He's my Tjhoko Maverick. He's the chaos creator. He's the creative brain. He's my best friend. He is my four-pawed child, and we love him dearly. He even has a Tjhoko name, a Tjhoko Paint color named after him, and he is Maestro. Maestro, you look so beautiful. And I love your Tjhoko apron. There's your treat. Thank you for being so good. Maestro is the one that started the entire Tjhoko journey and the live videos with us back during the hard lockdown and COVID time. And he loves Tjhoko. He gets so excited when there's something being painted in the house. But he's also the chaos creator. So the masking tape that disappears and the mutton class, we know who the culprit is. Today I'm going to continue, so welcome first of all. Today we are going to continue on our furniture piece that we started last week. I'm Nadine Vosloo. I'm also known as Mama Tjhoko, and I'm here to share creativity and fun with you. So sit back, relax and enjoy. We are going to enjoy the process together. The video from last week, we showed step by step how to do a wash technique on a varnish surface that we've actually stripped the varnish. So we sanded the varnish down so that the paint could actually be washed onto the surface. This is something new, so I'm just going to focus here. So this is what we've created last week. Something that I have done is I have, by the help of my husband, replaced the handles. And then I created a stencil technique here. So this is a piece of furniture that will go into a children's room. And I'm just going to share some tips and ideas when it comes to stencil work that you need to do with a foam roller, but also to add extra touches and just an extra touch to your surface. So the process on the wash and dry brush technique is on last week's video where we share, I think the title, if you go back onto our YouTube channel, Tjhoko Paint, you will find it there, how to whitewash a furniture piece. I think that caption is, but you will see the furniture piece on the header of the YouTube channel, and then you will know exactly which video I'm referring to. We are now going to stencil the bottom section of this unit, and I'm going to share the ideas and the steps with you. So first of all, I'm securing the areas where I don't want any paint to actually get onto my piece with some masking tape. Okay, so now that is done. Next, I have a stencil. This is a Tjhoko stencil that I'm going to use. And the code is, I just want to share it with you because many times we receive the questions afterwards. So let me share it while I'm busy at it. The code is 2230-13. 2230-13. And the size of this stencil is a 30 by 30 centimeter. Okay, so you will find it on the catalog under the 30 by 30 centimeter stencil range. Inquire from your nearest stockist. They do have it. It's also on the website if you click under stencils if you're unsure. Okay, so let's do it like this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to place it in the center of my, more or less, if you want to measure, please feel free to do it. At the end of the day, it's your creation and it needs to be perfect. So I'm just going to make sure that it's straight. Hopefully it is. Just move it down a bit. Sorry, I'm now being my own worst enemy, but things need to be done right. Okay, so it's more or less in the center. I didn't now measure now, but you can absolutely do it. So the reason for that is so that that star sits nicely in the center. Remember, this is something that I will always say. When it comes to color, pattern, techniques, all of those are personal choices. I'm just the giver of inspiration and ideas. But at the end of the day, you need to do and create things in a way that you like it and the colors that you like. Maestro, sit daar so, sit mooi. Or you need to go outside. Oh. Okay, so we will get the helper to remove Maestro shortly. Okay, so you need to select colors, techniques, stencils that you like. Okay, so that's a very personal choice. You can see what I talked about. Okay, I'm just sharing ideas. So nothing I say is ever cast in stone. It's completely up to you. So I don't waste anything. This was the backing of our stencil, and this was the plastic sleeve that the stencil came in. So I prepared this last night, and I've actually put my roller and my paintbrush in this plastic sleeve that I didn't have to wash anything, and no product went to waste. For sometimes it does happen that you start a project but you can't finish it the same time. So in this plate I have my paint evenly distributed. I have my cardboard, the backing of my stencil here. So when it comes to the stenciling of a foam roller, and the times that we recommend, or that I would recommend, or that I will use a foam roller when it comes to stencil work, is when you are doing larger surfaces. But you can also see this stencil design has a lot of open areas. So you can use a stencil brush, and it will just take longer. But if you do larger projects, larger areas, a foam roller works well. There is just a few tips that I want to share. So you need to make sure that the paint is evenly distributed throughout your foam roller. Okay? Less is more when it comes to stencil work with the foam roller. So you don't want to have too much paint on your foam roller. Our cardboards that I'm painting now, actually removing my paint from my stencil brush, also to make cards, like for Father's Day, Mother's Day, Get Better Soon cards, birthday cards, so that we really upcycle and reuse everything. So I just want to remove excess paint, that it's not too wet. I still feel it's too wet. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to remove more paint to make sure there's not too much paint in here. Okay. Next, very gently, I'm going and lightly, I'm going to roll on my surface. Can you see there's little paint in my foam roller? I can rather apply a second coat than pressing too hard and have the paint leaking underneath my stencil, or have too much paint on my stencil brush and the paint leaking underneath. So it's an even application. I'm reiterating what I'm saying now, just because I was sidetracked with Maestro that wanted to sit on my head earlier in the session. But stencil designs, absolutely personal choice, okay? Color, personal preference. You will always look at what do you have in the space. Do your planning properly? Do the colors marry? Does it match with what I have on my floors, my wall color? Wall colors are a very cost-effective way. There's a cost-effective way of changing wall color, and that is with paints, but it's not as easy to change your flooring. So you, at the end of the day, everything needs to work together. Okay, this is now my first coat. Very important, like with paint work, we will always say wait for your first coat to dry before you start applying the second coat. While we wait for this coat to dry before I apply the second, let me quickly show how to paint with a foam roller at the top. So you will remember last week we have antique glazed the raw wood just to create a darker timber finish. But when it comes to the painting of furniture, it's actually a creative process, and then you need to sometimes make changes as your project evolves. What I have done is I've painted the bottom section in black. It's in a boys' room that we're going to put this furniture piece. And the top, I'm also now going to paint black so that the black color pulls through from the bottom, some design elements on the piece, and then also the top. So the nice thing about Tjhoko is the fact that everything is water-based. So even though I have stained my wood with the antique brown glaze, I'm just going to show what it looks like. So this is the color that we used last week, and we showed the process. So we used the antique brown glaze. Sorry, it's not a clean jar. It's been used quite a lot. Although I've used the antique brown glaze, it's water-based. And if I now want to change something, are you going to see very easily, I can simply paint on top of that antique glaze. I'm just going to apply some masking tape here for a cut line to make sure I don't paint on this section. Now when it comes to the painting with a foam roller, tip, a Moe roller is a much easier tool to use when it comes to flat surfaces. But sometimes you need to use what you have, and I have a foam roller, and I'm going to show you how to use it. So first step, this is now for paint work. Is Maestro being naughty, Kaylee? Is there paint on my face? Why are you laughing? Huh? Okay, so evenly I distribute the paint onto my foam roller, evenly. Also, I'm using a plate because I couldn't find a paint tray. Now, the fun thing about a foam roller is the fact that you can move in more than one direction. It's not like a paintbrush where you go with the grain of the wood. So when it comes to a foam roller, you are not going to overwork your surface. We all think sometimes we are under the impression that we need to paint like this with a foam roller. That's not the case. So very evenly, you roll. No aggression. I don't overwork. The moment you roll, that's when roughness on your surface occurs. And then you think there's something wrong with the paint, but it's not the paint that can create the roughness. It's the way you use the applicator. So I just evenly work. When I want to remove air bubbles, I can just leave it. There's no wind or a breeze or a fan where I'm working with a foam roller. And if I want to remove the bubbles, the air bubbles and the air that's being transmitted from your foam roller to your surface. So you can either leave it and it will pop naturally, or if you want to remove it, there's almost no pressure. So it's such a light movement. I'm just moving over my surface and then the air bubbles disappear. And I'm just going to continue to paint my first coat. And the same principles apply. Always wait between coats for the paint to dry before you start applying the next coat. Okay, this is called a cut line. Can you see my roller can't reach there? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a paintbrush. There is already matte black on it. This is the color I'm currently using, is matte black. I paint with my paintbrush my cut line. And now with my roller, very gently, no pressure, I just roll so that there are no streakiness caused by the paintbrush, and to ensure that the finish looks the same all over my surface. Okay, this is coat 1. I'm also going to do the edge of my top. And let's do, sorry Kayla, I'm still going to do this side as well. Okay, coat 1, done. Now it needs to dry. Drying time of paint depends on weather, temperatures, humidity. The colder, the more humid, the more rainy, the wetter the area is, the longer it's going to take for the paint to dry. Okay, next I'm going to continue. While this is drying, I'm going to continue with my stencil work in the front and apply my second coat. So I know my foam roller is not too wet. I've just removed most of the paint onto my flat surface when I painted it. I'm not spreading paint on it again. I know the paint is evenly distributed on my foam roller. And I paint my second coat. And can you see I move my roller in different directions when I need to. Okay. Now I'm going to remove my stencil. And what I'm going to do next is I'm going to pattern repeat it. So you can see this is a repetitive pattern. The stencil itself is repetitive. So you can move it up, you can move it down, you can move it sideways, and the pattern will repeat itself. So something that I usually look out for when I decide on a stencil design is, what surface am I going to paint? Is it a surface where I need a repeat in the pattern? So this is a perfect stencil. Kylie, wat gaan aan? Is dit my hare? Wat sê my net? Kylie think something is so funny. What is this? Okay. So yeah, I've been outside, running from the combi into my house after a meeting. So I'm not sure what's so funny. I'll most probably hear afterwards. Okay. So here is my stencil, and I'm going to repeat it. So quickly look here. There's a small section, Kelly, you need to zoom in here. Small section where I can see my previous stencil work ending, so that there's not a gap when I repeat the pattern from my previous work. I now need to be careful because there's not masking tape there. Let me show you what I'm going to do. So I'm just going to add more masking tape here so that I actually don't damage my already painted surface, and that I can turn my roller in a different direction. So now it's safe to do this. And let's quickly move to the bottom so that this can dry and that I can show you the next step. So same principle applies. I make sure I can just see like a 2 millimeter line from where my stencil work previously ended. Make sure it's lined up precisely. And I repeat my pattern. Okay, so it's always lovely to hear where you are watching from. And if you don't want to see the comments on your screen when you watch this on Facebook, you can simply slide your screen to the left or right, or sometimes up and down, and the comments will disappear. But we have people watching from Scotland, from Ireland, all throughout the area of South Africa, Namibia. But please share where you are from. Okay, I'm now removing my stencil, and that section is done. Okay, if this was something that I would not sand, I would have made sure that it's done perfectly. Or if I had to fill gaps, this is when you will use an artist brush and quickly fill those gaps to make sure that everything is perfect. But I'm going to sand, so I'm not going to worry too much about this. Okay, this is just a tip for next time. Or you can reapply the stencil and make sure that you just apply another coat. I did not. And that's also why there's a slight variance in the shade. Because here we did 2 coats, and due to time constraints with the live, we did only 1 when we repeated the stencil work. Okay. Now we are going to wait for that to dry. And while that is drying, I'm going to continue with my glazing process on the top of the unit. So, Kaylee, we're going to move up again. This is also my exercise session. Okay, so we are going to this top. I have painted last night, and we have cold, humid, wet weather currently in the Eastern Cape. So when do we actually glaze with Tjhoko Paint? Because remember, Tjhoko has a built-in primer and a built-in sealer. So you don't always need to glaze. Use the glaze, the clear glaze. And the clear glaze looks like, is it still in the garage? I never brought it from the shop. You quickly need to go find clear glaze for me in the garage, will you? I'm quickly going to towel, just place the... Oh, I hope you find, Kaylee. I'm sending good vibes. I was at the shop earlier and I was supposed to bring with. Let me quickly explain when and where do you use the clear glaze. So Tjhoko has a built-in primer, a built-in sealer. When you need to make a surface more stain resistant, UV resistant, or water resistant, that is when we use the clear glaze. And the clear glaze looks like this. And now we need to open it. So if you have used it and you have not replaced the plastic sleeve on the inside, just give to Dad quickly asking. So this is a true session live. So if that happens, you can't open, you tilt it upside down with warm water, you wait a few seconds and then the lid will open. I just hope my husband has got muscles. Else you are going to be part of the opening process. Should I do it under a tap? Okay, let's do it together. This is what it is. So we share tips. So if you want to make a surface, Kaylee, come with me. We are going to do it under warm water. If you want to make a surface water, UV, and stain resistant, that's when you will use the clear glaze. So the clear glaze is water-based, non-toxic, and it's a pure acrylic sealant. So it's a stunning way. My flower pots are chalked and glazed, and they are outside, and they are perfect. And I just quickly need to get hot water. Is it load shedding, do you know? Okay, how do we apply the clear glaze? So the clear glaze is concentrated, and the way we apply it is we mix it with cooled boiled water. I have that ready, believe it or not. And The reason for the cooled boiled water is due to the fact that this is concentrate. So we recommend 30% water. So it's 3 parts glaze, 1 part cooled boiled water. But on darker surfaces, we are going to mix it equal quantities. Equal quantity paint, equal quantity glaze with equal quantity cooled boiled water. Ek gaan dit onder die warm water. So I just tilt it upside down. And that's now if you don't look after your jars, if you don't replace like on the instructions with a wax paper. That's why the wax paper is there, people. Okay, and the lid is open. Okay, so there's the proof it works. Okay, let's go to the table, Kales. So I'm going to, in my container, and there's an easy way of doing this. Gaan jy weer saam met my loop? Ek moet net die dekseltjie kry. Okay, this is how real life looks. Okay, you're part of my life. We are a family, and I think as soon as you become part of Tjhoko, you will realize that we are a family, and we're true, and we just do things the real way. Okay, so an easy way of mixing. I'm now going to glaze on a dark surface. Okay. So I'm going to mix, and I'm using the lid of my glaze jar. 1 part glaze in there with 1 part cooled boiled water. And the reason for the cooled boiled water is whatever is left, I can put in an airtight container and use again, because tap water will contaminate paint products. I have a damp microfiber cloth. Okay, it's just damp, it's not wet. And I'm mixing that in my glaze mix. I'm not mixing it, I'm putting it in my glaze mix. I squeeze out excess. Now you can wear gloves. There's nothing toxic in it, but you can wear gloves to just clean your hands easier, or just wash your hands directly after use. And now I've squeezed out excess, but I know the glaze is evenly. I'm going to show this process again. So there needs to be glaze everywhere on your cloth. Okay, this needs to make sense, so that you don't only wipe dampness on your surface, but that you actually wipe the glaze on your surface. And this now is going to make the surface stain resistant, because we are going to do it on the top of the item. I'm not going to glaze the front of the item. It's not necessary. There is a built-in sealer in Tjhoko, and that's also one of the things that make it so unique. I have squeezed out excess moisture, but it's still very damp, my cloth. And now I am applying my clear glaze onto my surface. I work in a well-lit space. Now, the reason why I'm moving from left to right is due to the fact that there's a grain. There's a wooden grain on my surface. Flat areas like walls, circular motion works better, although you don't need to glaze walls at all. With Tjhoko, there is a built-in sealer. The other time that you will use glaze is if you want to manipulate the sheen level, because Tjhoko has a matte finish, and if you want a subtle satin finish, you can also apply the glaze. I have never glazed walls, ever. Smooth surfaces, circular motion works better. Say for instance, melamine, kitchen cupboards, kitchens, bathrooms outside, we recommend to glaze. You can use circular motion, but there's a definite grain in my wood, so I move with the grain just to make sure my application is done evenly and smoothly. Now once this dries, I can immediately see if there are any streakiness. If they are, you simply apply another coat, but you wait at least half an hour before you apply another coat. I'm just going to leave that to dry, and I'm also nicely evenly going to finish off the front section. This should be fine, and the glazing process is done. Now you know that the top of your unit is protected. Stains, kiddies can put things there, and now it's protected. Okay, you can see that my clothes, I very seldomly have non-painted items in my cupboard. Okay, next I'm going to show a technique on this drawer. So my paint is more or less dry. Now this is a use or lose. If you want it solid, you want it perfect, it's up to you. Okay, just do what makes you happy. I'm using 100 grit piece of sanding paper, and I'm going, and sorry for the noise, you are going to hear it because I'm wearing a mask. I'm just going to show the process. So I'm going to sand it when I am going to finish this entire door, but I'm not going to do it now because you've seen the process and you know what to do. I kept the masking tape on because I don't want to damage those areas. I just want to focus on the front of this door. Okay, so now the sanding part is done, but I want this to sit on the background. So it's use or lose. You do what you prefer. I'm just sharing ideas and different possibilities. I'm going to use a piece of mutton cloth, and it's damp, and you can see my water has been used, but I don't waste water because it's something that's very scarce where we live. So I can reuse and reuse that. Okay. So it's damp mutton cloth, and the next color I'm going to use is Davet. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to use a clean, maybe spoon or something. Don't put dirty hands that have just been in water into your paint. Don't do that. I am, but you don't, because the contamination that might be in the water will now grow in my paint if I touch my paint. But I promise you, I use my paint so often that before the contamination is severe, there's no paint left. I spread the paint evenly onto my mutton cloth. So it's actually a dirty rag. You can use anything. Okay, any old rags. Next, I just fold my rag like a ball in the palm of my hand. Sorry for those of you that have seen this so many times. I press down with my free hand, and now very gently I'm going to wipe my Davet onto my surface. So what I in essence want is just the pattern that's caused by my stencil work to sit on the background. move in circular motion. Very light pressure. Okay, and there it's done. And now this is also personal choice. If you want to wash more, where do you want to wash more? Also, allow for your first coat to dry a bit. Give it time. Stand back, look, see what you want to change. Okay, and there it looks similar to there. I will just complete those sections over there. Kaylee, you can just show. We will share the final result as well as soon I'm done with it. But I'm sure the process makes sense. Okay, now it is time for our motivation till we see each other again. And earlier today, I actually did not know how I was going to do a Thursday Live. We have experienced loss in our family threefold in 5 weeks' time. And earlier this week, it's not family that you can say it's family because we share the same blood, but I think it's because we so deeply love that when we experience loss, we experience it so deeply. And earlier this week, I was thinking, I'm afraid to love. And I just realized that we are all human. We are exposed to life. We are exposed. No one is safe from experiencing loss. It's something that we all are going to experience at some point in our life. But it's hard and it's sore. First of all, I want to say that my heart and my entire body is with the families that's going through this tough time. These people that passed away were just friends of ours. Wimpy Braam, this live session is dedicated to you. You have made St. Francis such a special place, and I'm not sure even how the town is going to be the same without you. So through our experiences and our connections with people, we get taught so many things, and that's what I'm going to hold on to, is the stories, the life lessons, the laughter, and all the memories that we've built together. To those of you that have experienced loss, I think for the first time, I can say sincerely that I can relate to you and that I have empathy, because that is something that we have now experienced. My message to you is not to be afraid to love deeply. Because if we love deeply, we experience life and the purpose of life deeply. I'm not sure if I'm going to be here next week. We will maybe share different content because I'm traveling to Cape Town. We have on the 27th of May, we have a national workshop in Stellenbosch, and those details are available on our website. And the day before, we are doing a community project in a area close to Stellenbosch at a nursery for children that has very little. So I'll share the creations and the color that we've created in those children's lives with you as soon as we are done with the project. But till the next time that we see each other, love deeply and create memories with the people around you, because tomorrow is not a guarantee. Bye.